This afternoon's topic is comedy, the booking panel. And so without further ado, let's get to know our industry experts. They're going to share their knowledge about the booking process. And at the end of our panel, we will have a Q&A with the audience. So make sure you hold on to those questions until the end. So we'll start with Susan, and then we'll work our way down.
All right. Oh, good. It's working. I'm Susan Thompson. I'm the only one that's probably from Canada. I assist a book for the Sonar Club, which is in Prince George. I work with Laugh Lines Comedy Club, and I book most of the independent theaters throughout Vancouver and various clubs throughout Canada. I have some networking available for that. So that's where I am. Can I finish? Is that it?
Yes. I'm Jennie Stencel. I own the Idiot Box Comedy Club in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I created and produced the North Carolina Comedy Festival. And I do all the booking for both. So that's who I am.
I'm Ryan Cott. I book Boston and a lot of different shows in New England.
Very, very, very modest.
Look 'em up.
Look 'em up. I'm Ronn Reid. I have an agency called Artist West that books stand-ups on cruises. Very specialized personal appearance agency. I've been in the comedy business for over 30 years. I was a stand-up. I ran the Comedy Underground in Seattle for 16 years, and I was the producer of the Seattle International Comedy Competition till 2010. So that's me.
Jennifer Canfield, booker and owner, Laughs Unlimited Comedy Club in Sacramento, California.
Jag Assadourian Jr., Haha Comedy Club, and the Noho Comedy Festival.
Ron Vigh, San Francisco, Sacramento Punchline, and Cobbs Comedy Club in SF.
Cyrus Mehfhar, I work for Levity Live and I book for the Improvs.
All right, thanks everybody for being here this afternoon. Let's kick off this panel. As bookers, how do you all prefer introductions? Email, in person, or another avenue?
I like it when I get references from comics that are already in our wheelhouse and already losing. A lot of these guys, we've been doing this a long time, and we have a lot of close relationships with a lot of our local guys, and a lot of them do work the road a lot. So very often we'll like, hey, you need to look at this guy. And for us, that will move you right up to the top of the sheet.
I just want to add one thing. If somebody does give you a reference to a booker, make sure they're actually giving you the reference to the booker, because I'm not speaking for everybody here, but to us, it's very difficult if we get a phone call from a comic and they say, this guy's going to call you. So just be sure. But on the other hand, if somebody says, hey, use my name, please do. Always put your foot through that door when it opens.
But represent them well. Don't use their name and then send a clip that is hot garbage. I had a comic send me a clip and used a comic that I am familiar with and that has referred people and I trust. He sent me a clip, and in the first 15 seconds of the clip, used every single cuss word known. Cussed the audience. I mean, I'm sure it ended up funny. I don't know. I didn't watch the rest of it because I was done. So I called the comic that referred him, and I sent him the message, and I said, just so you know, that has your name on it. That's the last reference he'll get, So make sure that you're representing who is referring you well.
I don't know how the rest of the panel feels, but I also like it when someone asks me in advance. So if someone says, hey, do you mind if I introduce you to this comedian, they do this, that, and the other, versus if someone just loops me into an email, I don't know, I might not respond, I might not get to it, I might not watch your clip, just ahead, because I'm never going to say no if someone comes to me in advance and says, hey, can I introduce you to, I'm never going to say no. So just the professionalism and respect of just giving us a heads up.
And while you're here, say hello. Hi. We're not that scary. We're still people. It's okay. But I've heard that a lot this weekend.
She's scary.
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm scared of her.
So stupid. Jack is a pussy. Don't mind him at all. No, for real though, because we've seen comics all weekend long, and then you just avoid us, or we don't ever hear from you again. And maybe we liked you, but you don't have to come up and be like, "Hey, when can I get a date?" But just come up and introduce yourself and say hi and how you doing. We're here. We've traveled here to meet you guys, to see you guys, to do this festival. Make it worth your while.
Yeah, and if you had a bad set, don't introduce yourself. Because that's just awkward for both of us.
You know, the other thing when people introduce themselves is that you do it sometimes at the very wrong time. Like in the middle of a comedy show, you just start walking in the club and start yapping away or whatever. But as a comic, I have literally, the comic before me has gotten the light, and I've been waiting on the side, and all of a sudden someone just wanders in and is like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about getting booked at your club." And I'm like, I gotta go. You know, I have something to do. So that kind of gets a little irritating, you know, sometimes. And in terms of email, when you say introduce them by email, I know like a lot of people don't live in your area, so you have no other way to do it but email. And I think when you do jokes, you try to think about how do you get the most information out in the most concise way. Do that in an email and send a link. Don't make me go crawling through your website, fill out a form to find your email or something like that, which happens all the time, you know? So like that is just, I just want to see like who you are. If somebody referred to you, boom, 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 and go, you know?
And kind of going off that note, if you do get a referral via email, other than everything else that you mentioned, are there specific things you want in that email? Do you want to know their availabilities, their headshot, anything like that, that if someone's looking to get in touch with you guys, or if someone is sending a referral on behalf of their friend, what information is really imperative to have in that email?
Credit score. If they are, for me personally, if you're being referred, I think like you should put the reference in the subject line, like referred by, and then just a quick thing. But I don't know, everybody probably feels differently, but if I'm already booking you, I don't want your avails. I just want to like meet you and set up something first, have you come down and then send your avails. But that's just me. Everybody does it differently.
And that's the hard part for you guys. Everybody does it differently. Yeah. But that's the challenge. That's the job you've chosen. That's the industry you want to work in. You can complain about it or you can learn about it. I say you can't send too much. If you're sending an email and you send your headshot and a video and I don't have to go back and ask you for it, send it. Just send it standard. Put it in your footer. Just send it. Nobody's going to send back and say, "I didn't want your headshot. I didn't ask for that."
Well...
Now everybody make a note. Right. Ryan doesn't want it.
We are all very different in that aspect. I mean, I don't take this for granted, but we're very fortunate enough to run a bunch of rooms, and it's tough to get back to everybody. A lot of information comes in, but if you are sending an email, do yourself. Basically, just don't be a dick and just try to be approachable. But also, too, if you said something funny in an email, I think Rick Bronson said something about this at the panel yesterday. Do something funny in it, or say something that makes us want to continue to read on or look more into you. If you grab our attention with that and stick out, and then next thing you know, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to be in Boston in a couple months." I was like, "All right, well, at least we'll get you a headshot," because I remember we had that interaction at Big Pine. You sent me that email, and I remembered.
Also, we all do things differently, but I think by the end of this, you'll see there's a lot of things that we agree on, that we have in common. And so that's point number one. Point number two is, I forgot. So
I agree.
And Jack agrees. Do some research about who you are approaching. Okay, this happens to us all the time. We get people say, "Oh, I want to do this," and they didn't look us up. We're easy to, everybody has the internet. If you're going to approach any of these people here, look them up. Look up their club. Look up what they book. Make sure that anything that you say or submit is appropriate for the job. Try to figure out what job you're applying for before you apply for the job.
And when you're sending avails to websites, make sure you change the title of the club. I'm very fortunate enough to run multiple clubs in Massachusetts and the New England area, and I'll get all those inbox. If you hit info and email the club, it comes to my inbox. So I'll get all your emails immediately, and you'll say, "Hey, Nick's Comedy Stop, I can't work there," but you emailed the Comedy Scene or Laugh Boston. So be thorough in it. and proofread.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like it's like, I'd love to work Dead Crow, and I'm like, me too. It's 3 hours away. You gotta call them. I can't help you with that. One thing I'd say is sometimes comics think it's a good idea to pretend to be their own, like a different person, and send messages. And I'm not stupid, so like I know it's coming from your email. So just send your be you. It's okay that you're not represented. We want you to be funny. So be funny, right? Send us a good clip, but don't pretend to be someone else. And also be careful about the way, have someone read the emails that isn't you, for grammar and stuff, but also like sometimes you sound like dicks. And that's hard to want to book that guy. Right? It's like, oh, you could be nice in your email. You don't have to be like, I've been on all these TV shows, so you probably want me at your club. Like, that's not an opening line. You're not going to get a date that way. You're not going to get a show. So.
What are some of your tips when individuals are submitting booking videos to you for your review? The do's and don'ts that you could offer to the audience and our listeners?
For me personally, it's short and sweet. If you're sending a video, you see some strong laughs pretty quick within the first 30 seconds to a minute, whether or not we continue to watch after that. That's for me, because usually we can tell immediately whether or not the stage presence, the quality of the joke, and then we can dig deeper into it. Like, all right, how much time does this person have? But quick and easy, fast laughs, and funny right off the gate.
It should be are we on what to submit as a video? Is that our topic? Boy, you got to realize that most of us here, we see or are asked to see hundreds and hundreds of stand-up videos. So along with what Ryan said, first few seconds are extremely important on the video. The quality of the video is extremely important. The audience needs to be heard. The laughter needs to be heard. You can't go, oh, I took this video, but the audience wasn't mic'd, so you can't really hear the laughter. Well, we're not, if we know you at some point down the road, that might be a discussion we could have. But for first impression, we're not going to do that. We just thought we have too great a volume of stuff to look at and hear. So just make sure it's a professional quality video. This is your calling card. This represents you, and you probably only get one shot at it. So even if it costs you money, I mean, if you got to borrow $50 from somebody to help somebody edit your video and stuff like that. So, and the other thing is for different bookers are going to have different needs in a video. Like I don't need to see you straight through with no edits. I can look at a sizzle reel. That's okay for me, but I can't speak for any of the people on the panel here who do it. I mean, so some people want to see it straight through. I mean, a lot of comics, when you're auditioning for late night TV, they want to see 4.5 to 6 minutes exactly, straight through, no cuts, no edits. So that's what they want. But I don't need to see that necessarily. I just need to see you killing. So,
in conjunction with that, I don't know if you're going to ask this question later on, but one of the first things I do is I Google you. I Google your name. So if you have a website, if you have a YouTube page, if you have a Twitter, a Facebook, an Instagram, like Ron said, if you have a website, don't make it impossible for us to be able to reach you. Have an updated set online. Ron mentioned edited. I think some of the bookers I heard from yesterday's panel as well. Yeah. I need unedited. Yeah. I need unedited. Maybe clean, doesn't have to be, but it gives me an idea of more places that I could potentially book you in. And those, I mean, the dues are pretty standard. We all, for video submissions, we all basically have good audio is super important. Good lighting.
And if you're not sure, send both. Send the clean and the not, and just specify which one's which. And then if I want to see a clean video, I'll look at the clean clip. And there are more opportunities. I have outdoor venues that I could use clean comics for. So I'll look at the clean clip and be like, oh, not only, can I book you a weekend at the club, but hey, this might be a good fit for that too. So it doesn't hurt to send both.
I'm sorry, go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, thank you.
I'm a gentleman. Go. I didn't say it. You said it.
For me personally, I will sit through any tape how painful or how easy it is, whatever. But I will sit through it. But the one thing I will shut a tape off for immediately is if I see notes. As soon as I see notes go down on the stool next to you, I won't watch the tape, because I book hosts and I book features. And I think the host, you're the first person that they see, and it doesn't look like a professional show if you have notes. And the audience is paying $25 sometimes, and then 2-drink minimum. I want them to see the most professional set. So as soon as I see notes, I'm like, I'm out. And the other thing that I do that a lot of people probably don't do is, if I don't know you and you're trying to submit from like the East Coast or whatever, and I'm on the West Coast, you want a feature, I will ask you eventually for a 30-minute tape, and more often than not, nobody has it. And I know it's hard to get it, but if I don't know you and I want to bring you in, I have to make sure that there's not a 15-minute dip in the middle and you're not sending me your best 5 at the close and the end. So that's what I do. And I won't watch it, but I'm paid hourly, so it helps me, like, add up the...
Buy a tripod, all right? Don't get those videos where your friend's holding it and it's moving. Like, don't do that. And make sure no one's walking by during your set. That's it.
What are some of your biggest pet peeves about booking, and what should comics avoid?
Avoid being rude. I mean, you're trying to get a job. I don't know what being rude or having some rude response it accomplishes for you, because now a maybe is absolutely not. So don't be rude. And again, don't mess up the reference that you might have used. Because if you're talking to somebody that we know or we work with, I'll tell them. I'll be like, this person said this. You probably shouldn't do that.
I mean, jumping off on what you said about being rude, what happens sometimes, and as actually somebody mentioned you recently, but what they'll do is every club has a game, right? So for my club, it's mostly Sunday night showcases where if you're local, we want to see you come. Like, there's another club nearby that has a new talent night every Wednesday night, and that's where you have to start. So when you ask me and I tell you, don't tell me, oh, well, Jennie at Laughs does it this way, so can't you just do that? No, that's not what we do. And you could figure it out. If you don't want to do it the way we do, that's absolutely fine, but there's a million comics and there has to be some sort of process. And so to tell me I don't want to do it that way, I want to do it the way so that's the thing, It sucks, but that's the thing.
I think one of my pet peeves is when somebody has sent me an email and then I start to hear from these people on my Facebook page, my Instagram page, Twitter handle, or whatever. I will get back to you, and as Jennie always says, no doesn't always mean no permanently. Could mean it's just not the right time or not right now. And please don't assume that because you've met me at a festival or something, we're all friendly with each other, but this is a professional working relationship. And I think enough people need to know how to separate that. I have my friends and I have my business, and I like to keep it very professional. So please be professional in your emails and responses is all I ask.
Cyrus kind of touched on this, but going into social media, how important of a role does social media play in your opinions in booking somebody?
I'll mention it because we're having trouble with it. I find the hustle is very different here in the United States. There seems to be more of it, and you guys you go fast and hard. I'm like, holy shit, these people mean business. Canada, they can be a little more laid back, and I'll be like, I need your headshot. They're like, put it off Facebook. I'm like, fuck off. I'm not going to your Facebook page. I don't need that shit.
Facebook is not a website.
No.
Either. I'll tell you that.
Facebook also doesn't have high-resolution photos.
But I want to see some type of presence somewhere, because there's so much the club can do building our branding, but we're bringing you in, and a lot of the times you're not famous, you're not as well known. People are coming to the club to laugh. It's not necessarily who's on stage. They want to know, so they've got the branding. But what I want to see is, we've gone to the trouble of booking you guys. Tweet it, Facebook it, Instagram it, put it on your website. Have a website, please. And then when you do finally show up at the club, maybe a follow-up with that. That's what I like to see, because I'm more likely to bring you back if I know that, one, my audience is happy, but you guys I want to know you're looked after, but I also want to know that you guys this is going to be a working relationship. It's not just you come in, take money, and you go home. This is a working relationship, and it will continue to be a relationship if we can work together. So I like to see some social media. You don't have to have the most followers, but you might be surprised if Anthony or somebody tweets out and then their friend tweets it out and their friend tweets it out. All those people have followers that are following them that might pick up on that. So if I get 10 people into the club on a weekend from Facebook, that's awesome.
Yeah, make the effort. I mean, to your point, though, is if you don't have all the friends, that's fine. That will come. But make the effort. But also make the effort in the strategic way. Make sure you're tagging the right club. Make sure you're putting the link in there. Make sure you're making it so easy for the consumer to get to the tickets. We go through all the ticketing websites to make it as easy as possible for people to buy these things. And we've already put them in place. Just ask the club for the link and include it. I see so many people just, hey, I'm at so-and-so this weekend. Cool. Now I've got to make the homework assignment to figure out where I'm going to go get the tickets, how I'm going to do it. So just make it easy on them.
You guys are your own brand. You're building your brand, so just keep pushing yourself, put yourself out there. So that's it.
Also, remember that the internet is forever. Yes. Okay, so be careful about what you post. Like YouTube, if you're putting YouTube videos up, just, if you have you're on new material night, you're trying out new material, and you have a video and the club is empty and whatever, don't put that on YouTube. People will see it. And you're evolving. We were talking about this earlier. Most of you, and almost all comics, but especially people in the first few years of their careers, are developing, and developing rapidly or slowly. People like babies. Artists develop at different rates. And so just be careful about what you put on the internet, what you put on YouTube and stuff like that, because we might see it. Like somebody said about Googling, right? Who made the comment? Cyrus, about Googling you. If we Google you and we see YouTube clips and they're from like 5 years ago, and you were stoned and had a ripped T-shirt and it was in a shitty dive bar, no offense, and that stuff is there. So you might want to go through your stuff and take that stuff down. Doesn't mean it isn't going to be archived somewhere, but you might want to do that. I've seen a lot of comics do that. I've seen people in Hollywood who are fallen into the host category. They're looking for television hosting jobs. And so then they were stand-ups, and that's where a lot of hosts come from in TV. And they have clips of them being really dirty. And I'm not there's nothing to do with prudery or anything like that. But if you're looking for a job like that and you have a ton of material available in the public eye that's inappropriate for that job, you got to think about that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Like, we're in a new time. The internet is forever. We've had a number of comedians come under the fire in the last while. It's better to have a smaller social media presence that's good than a large social media presence that's crap. So just keep in mind, this is a business, and we are hiring you. And if I'm at a show, or if I'm seeing on your social media constantly, I was out till 4:30 last night drinking and living the good life or whatever, I don't want to see you drunk and lying on the floor, because I have had comics, or Jake, we finally had to cut 3 or 4 comics from our roster. We're like, we can't deal with this, because it does get Googled. And it does come up, are they going to be a good person? Like, you still have to show up at the club, do your set, be on time, be early, dress appropriately, be nice to the staff. Don't be a drunken idiot. All that stuff gets back to everybody.
And I think, sorry, go ahead.
I just want to double down on what you said. I think everybody's obsessed with numbers. It's who has the most Instagram follow. It's not really about that. When we say, like, build your brand online, I think more than... Because numbers can be hollow. I can go buy 100,000 followers on any social platform, realistically, if I wanted to. What I'm really looking at is engagement. And if you have a smaller following, but they're very engaged, they're liking and sharing and commenting your stuff, they're probably going to pay a hard ticket to come see you live. So build your audience organically, build your audience the right way with consistency and uploading. But I think numbers, I'm not just going to look at your Twitter and see you have 4 million followers and have 50 likes on a tweet and think it's legit. I'll see right through it, and most people will. So build your audience.
And think long term. I don't necessarily care how many followers you are. I book funny, so the club has a following. I don't need you to. It's nice to have some assist with that. But when you're going to a new town or a new club, you can build your own following. You can create your own fans, and later down the line, when you come back to that club, that's now a negotiation point for different pay or for something else. If you can bring out 100 people on a show, you can be like, well, I have a following. That following comes from you coming to that town and doing that and putting in that work 5 years ago. It doesn't just happen overnight.
I have something to add to that. I had a comic come in 3 months ago or something, and she got there the night before, and she's like, do you have any like buy one get one frees I could give out while I go out and do something? I'm going to the gym tomorrow and I'm going to eat and blah blah blah. And I was like, sure. And she handed out 100 passes to her show. She had a few people come that had never heard of my club, had never heard of her, and they want to come back and see her when she comes back. I want to book her again because she took the job really seriously. And I know not all of us are super social. She's a very social person, so it was easy for her. But it's not that hard for you to hand out a few passes to your show, especially for a small venue that is working to get audience already. That's kind of amazing. I was like, this is great. I have help. So.
Susan cited an unfortunate example of reasons why comics get banned from clubs. Are there any other reasons that would make one of you ban a comic from ever coming to your club?
Yeah, harassing the staff,
Okay.
harassing another comedian, fighting.
Taking your pants off during an open mic.
I did it one time.
I'm sorry.
Taking your pants off in
Why you
general.
gotta bring it up?
I'm sorry. I had to ban somebody for taking their pants off.
It was hot.
It wasn't. It wasn't hot. It wasn't hot. I had to chase him out of the building. It looked like that cartoon with the lady with the broom.
Was it funny though?
It wasn't.
Well, there was the problem.
Now
If it was
it's
funny, he'd be later
Name
that
the
weekend.
comic. Name the comic.
I don't remember the guy's name. I do think he went to jail after that. Unrelated.
No, control your drinking, because it happened in my club too. Pants off on stage, dick off with a customer.
Yeah, wiener.
Got down to
Wow.
boxers.
Wieners
Yeah.
out. We had wieners out.
We didn't have
people.
wieners out, but
Yeah.
Me
the
too.
The comic doesn't work my club anymore.
Yeah, you can't take your wiener out. It says solid. You should really keep it. Just put where it goes.
Well, to keep it fair, no tits either, ladies.
Yeah.
No tits either.
Hey.
I was trying to keep it fair. A couple of comics, like if you show up drunk already or on something, it has happened. I've had comics that decided to close the room on the green room because they were in there with a girlfriend. He was asked to go home and he didn't do the show that night, so I had my MC had to do a longer time. So I need to know my middles can do MC work. So we've had a few weird things. But,
Smoking in the club, smoking in the green room. I've 86 somebody for that.
But even every time. Oh, here.
There it is.
For every time you walk in the club, from the first time you walk in there, it's essentially an audition, right? From how you interact with the door staff and the bartenders, and even if you tip them, you should tip them, especially if you're getting it for free, because it all goes around. And then when the staff has favorites, then as a booker, there are people that I book that aren't even as funny as others, but the staff loves them and they're professional and they get the announcements right and things like that, and that's what's really important. And another situation that we had one time is this person was doing their first one-night headlining thing at our club, trying to get in to do the whole week. They walked in at 7:58 and said, oh, I'm going to do a spot, which was at our competing club, which was there for like 2 or 3 years, left, and the feature got the light and they weren't even back yet. And that was their audition to headline for the week. So that's not a thing to do. Like, don't get, we were paying them. Like, they were getting paid well to be there that night. Like, I'll just go do a spot at another club in the meantime.
Don't steal jokes. That creates drama at the club, and no one wants drama.
But to touch back on the being at the club, even if the bookers aren't there or some of the managers, you don't think everybody's watching. We all get reports at the end of the night too, and I can't tell you how many times they're like, this guy drank X amount again, and he didn't tip, or this guy was being rude, and then that goes into all of our inboxes, and then like, if it's up against that guy and another person, clearly we're going to go with the other one that we haven't been hearing bad things about. So just know that there's always somebody watching, and it could be the bus guy or somebody you don't think that matters, but of course they all matter, because eventually some of those guys are going to move up. So just know that if you think it that way, it definitely gets back to the people that make the decisions.
Oh, I know one that we've had a lot of trouble with is that when headliners come in and do their week, even though you might be a club regular, respect the green room. They just walk into the green room like they own it, and then we get a lot of complaints. Or my favorite is when they walk in and try to give the headliner tags, yet they don't even work a week at the club, and it's like, maybe you should just not do that, whatever. But we have a lot of problems with people going in the green room when they shouldn't be.
It's basically back down to treat it as a job. You're not going to show up to your job drunk. You're not going to show up and be disrespectful to your coworkers. So don't come in and talk to the staff sideways. The staff is at our establishment 52 weeks a year. They're there every week, day in, day out. You guys come once or twice a year. It's very easy to figure out who we're going to side with if shit goes sideways.
Yeah, if you're hosting too, don't bring a drink on stage. You're hosting. You're the first person they see. If you're walking up there like, hey, what's up, guys? No. I mean, I used to do that, but don't. I used to watch videos. I'm like, shit, that was me. I'm banning myself.
I think we'll have some overlap or maybe even some slight differences in your next responses, but it'll be really great to know how often should someone expect to be booked by you?
Every 6 months for a weekend, right?
For what?
I mean, I think it varies for the specific venue and what's going on. If you're a national headliner, once a year. If you're one of the local guys that we're working at one of the A clubs, a couple times a year. But now this time in day and age, all these headliners are bringing their feature acts with them. And it's some of the things that we can't control. We can try to say no. But then for us specifically, I try to say no as many times as I can because we have got so many talented comics in Boston that I want to get them in front of these audiences. So it just varies. And the thing is, if you're one of the liked guys and the headliner does want you to be there, that helps. But for me personally, to feature at a weekend or something, host 3 or 4 times a year, feature twice. In other smaller clubs, we'll try to get you as many as we can.
Any difference with the host spot for clubs?
Yeah, 3 to 4.
3 to 4. Oh, you said that. Okay.
Well, for our club, too, because people think you forgot about them a lot, and there's just, our hosts go to features, but very few local features go to headliner for us. So then we just get stuck with like 120 features and then 20 hosts because they're constantly moving. So if I offer a feature or host like spot, don't get offended. I'm just trying to get you work. You don't have to take it, but it's a very slow rotation at our club. Like now, you used to say there's only 52 weeks a year, but I'm probably saying the rotation is probably 18 months at some point now.
For headliners, ours is about 16. Yeah, I think we have 72 headliners. But there's also, headliners that, it sounds terrible, but kind of are aging out because they're doing the same thing. And they're not. Fuck you. Jack Assadourian.
Very much.
I mean, he's been begging me for a week here this entire. But features, it's about 9 months at my club. Hosts, it's probably 4 to 6 months. Just depending. But it's constantly rotating. And like I said, if I have a headliner come out and, they're phoning it in, or even if they don't, some of my headliners, older headliners, I'd say, don't even have a current video. I'm trying to do the promotions I'm bringing in the audience, but I'm using a video that's 9 years old or from, I don't know, Def Comedy Jam in the 90s. I don't know. But, it's not current, it's not new, and that's what you want me to promote. I have comics that are, coming to festivals and that want to do a better job than that. So for me, I have no problem promoting.
I don't have a magic number. I just report to a bunch of people in a corporation. So I have to justify my bookings to a board and a CEO and a CFO and my director. So if you can get 300 people out on a Wednesday in Oxnard, I'll book you as often as you want to be booked. Because there's the comedy business side of it for us. So, I mean, I wake up, I have 9 nightly reports I have to look at in 9 different venues and 9 different markets. So if you can do the numbers and you're funny and you do all the do's that we talked about, if you're respectful to the staff, if you're easy to work with, chances are we want to see you succeed, so we'll give you the opportunities to do so.
And how does a performer make that leap from a feature MC to a headliner?
Work.
Funny. I mean, you develop the time, develop the act, and make it hard on us. Make us be the dickheads for not using that person as a headliner yet. I've had a couple people kind of shove it in my face, and it's humbling. And it's like, just be that funny. If you're that funny, we'll find you. I mean, the word will get out, and then, you know, if we're not using it properly, you're probably going to go to another city that will, or go to New York or LA. But I think you just hone your act, and it will come.
Like, I don't book our headliners at our clubs. I do host and features and other things. But one thing that has been happening a lot lately is when a headliner takes like a Wednesday through Saturday, and then they get TV or something else, and they have to cancel the Wednesday. So my boss will say, who's a feature that's been really killing it, because they're going to headline Wednesday night. So if you just keep killing it over and over and over and just consistently have those good 30-minute sets, for us, a lot of times that's your foot in the door right there.
Make the headliner work. If there's a feature, blow him out of the water. You know, and if he can't follow you, then you get moved up.
I heard a comic say once, the feature they were bantering in front of me, and the feature asked him, how do you headline? How do you get to headline? And it was the best. The headliner said, I don't know. I've never asked to headline. I mean, we're paying attention. We're, like I said, even when I'm not there, I'm not at my club this weekend, but I'm getting reports back. I know what's going on, what's breaking, what's working, who's doing what. I don't even have to ask for it. It's a curse, I swear. But be consistent, be funny, and don't ever take a night off because you don't feel like it, or because you want somebody to see a different set, or don't lay back. You have however many judges here. Hillary has worked really hard to get industry here. Every single show you are on, whatever. Every show you're on, you should be at your best. Don't come in and go, well, I'm just hosting this show. Host the shit out of that show. Because to lay back and not is disrespectful to comedy, it's disrespectful to the people that are on the show, and it's disrespectful to us watching.
Yeah, give it up for it. There you go.
All right.
Please. But also not just during the shows. Throughout the whole week here, I mean, I don't know if that guy's here or not tonight, but there was a guy standing outside Blades last night that was so fucking weird that if I see him, I've got zero inclination to use this guy again. And I haven't even seen his act. But he was just so out of his mind.
That is his act.
Yeah, I fucking...
No, I'm serious.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, fuck him then.
The question was how to get to headliner. Is that right?
Yeah.
Don't be a weirdo.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't trying to be funny. Stop it. No, I was just gonna say, be nice to the other comics that you are working with or that you don't work with. Don't be shit talking them behind your backs. I would say keep your when you're out at shows and you're talking, try and keep it professional, because at some point, and it's happened to me, I am nothing special. I am not a headlining comic. I love to MC. That is my favorite. But I get a bigger high getting people like you on stage somewhere than I do getting on a stage myself. And I've got a lot of people in Vancouver that I think aren't getting the work that they deserve because they're being squashed down by if there's a clique or something else going on. But at some point, somebody is going to move up the ladder in that scene, and you will have to answer to them if you want a spot. And there's a lot of people I'm trying to get rid of grudges, and it's not that easy. Funny is funny, and I will book them, and I'll do the best I can, but it takes me longer to take a look at them because I don't give a shit anymore.
That's a good point, Susan, too. But being a fan of them, too, I know that some of us can be jerks and rude sometimes too, but we all have passion for this. We all want to do this, and nothing makes me happier. I don't get on stage at all, but nothing makes me happier when I see one of my guys
Oh yeah.
go up through the ranks. I mean, I'm so, like, they get a late night or Netflix
Yeah.
or whatever it is. It's just, I feel so good for them. So we're obviously rooting for you guys. We want you guys to do this. So don't think that we're not trying to do that. I know it could be hard to get
I was
through
doing that with one of the comics that I look after this week. I wanted to talk to Ryan about him. So
Is that guy at Blades last night?
No. Oh God, no. Hold on. I don't know who that was. No. But I'm not one to pass people off easily because it's my name on the line as well. But I've worked with him long enough, and we've had a good working relationship. We've been friendly, and he popped into my head, and I knew he'd be good for that area. So I will pass that information on.
Yeah, and it's always just good to just do your best every time and be polite. For instance, there's a comic who he did his hosting audition a night that I did a one-night headlining spot, and he was just on Corden this week. So 2 years from now, I'm going to be asking him if I could host for him. You know, so it just goes around in circles. So just being nice and professional to everyone.
Charlie Sotelo had a great story yesterday on his panel where he basically mentioned, he goes to a city for a week and watches comedy and then just hangs out at the club and then talks to the comics, and the comics talk to him and they say, oh, have you seen this? He has his own notes, but then people will come up to him, have you seen this woman? Have you seen this guy? Have you seen this woman? So your colleagues, these comedians you hang out with, they're your colleagues. They talk about you and they talk with you. So it doesn't bring you up to put someone else down. I think this is a community, and you guys got to build each other up. So I think stuff like that matters. And I mean, I think of Corey Rodriguez out of Boston. I've heard so much about him, and I've seen him, and I've heard about him since Big Sky last year because of Daniel. And so the industry talks, the talent talks, and even the talent from Boston talks about Corey and what a good guy Corey is, and the work that he's put in, and how long he's been doing it. So to hear the colleagues that you respect give their opinion, that carries a lot of weight.
And Ryan's right. We get a great sense of pride from watching you guys succeed. I am one that will thump my chest and be like, that's my comic. He killed it. That's my comic.
It's
He
true. It
works
was
with
just
me.
discussing at World
It's
Series
gross.
last year. She's like, oh, that's my comic. Oh, we get it. Your club's amazing.
They were killing it. And I took myself out of judging because I was like, I want to make sure that you guys know that they're going to do it, and it's not me. They do this. But it's my comic still.
See, I'd cook the books for my comics, though.
But I don't have to.
We're talking about Corey, though. He's clearly getting after right now.
Next question.
Any other comments or thoughts before we take it to the Q&A for the audience? All right, who's got a question? Yes, go ahead, sir. The question was, are you all going to be at the industry showcases tonight?
I think there's multiple showcases, and there are judges at each showcase. We're each assigned to different ones. Is there only one? I don't know.
And we'll be there.
Are you on it?
Then we'll be there.
All right.
Kevin?
We're watching you.
The question is, how often should a comic be checking back in and following up to see where they stand and might get booked?
I don't mind if somebody just kind of checks in. Like if I haven't answered an email and your availabilities are on there, like every couple of months, just send like, hey, just sending updates for so and so. I know we haven't connected yet. These are my new availabilities. Like I don't mind that, rather than going, how come you've never booked me? Like we're sorry. Like.
Yeah, definitely check back in because sometimes a lot of things do get overlooked. But if you ask for honest feedback and we say, guy, I just don't have anything for you right now, I will reach out to you. It could just be a polite way of saying I don't want to use you. But if we actually say that, don't be like, all right, I've got this new 5 minutes. Hit me up now. So respect our side of it too. Is like we really desperately don't have anything for you right now. Check back in 6 months. But if we just say no, respect that and move on to another place.
Weekly is excessive. Monthly is excessive. Maybe once a quarter, but learn if somebody tells you specifically what to do that. So if he says check back in 6 months, mark it on your calendar. In 6 months, email Ryan. Just do what you're asked. I know I've heard that some bookers are like, call me on Wednesday. If they tell you to call you on Wednesday, call them on Wednesday. That's the answer.
Any other we've got, yes. We'll go right here, Xander.
So I know most of the time your first audition at a club is hosting. So in terms of the clip, do you want to see us hosting, or do you just want like a straight material set?
What kind of clip do you prefer to see when you're booking someone? The hosting set or just a generic 5 minutes?
I mean, just the 5 minutes. Just hosting. He's like, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the show. And then go into material. You don't have to send that.
I mean, that is a good question, though, because some people just don't like hosting and aren't very good at it. So if you're upfront about it, and then like, all right, I mean, I get it. I'd rather somebody, ask, hey, how much time do you have? I literally only have 15 minutes. I respect that more, or I'm not a very good host. That's good, but understand that that is where we start people off at, though.
If you love hosting and like you want to showcase your skill at that, like doing crowd work and stuff like that.
Well, crowd work auditioning probably wouldn't be the best idea, but off the bat, once you start going, yeah, I mean, we all could use really good hosts at all of our venues. I mean, there's been this stigma of the host is usually maybe the lesser seasoned comic on there. I don't know why that's been the case for so long. But if you have a stronger host, I think it's a better show.
Way better. 100%. Hosting is the hardest job of the show. You're going out there first. You are the show. If you have a shitty host, it's gonna be a shitty show.
You know, the one thing about hosting, like most of our hosts start locally, so I've seen you a million times. I'm not really looking at a tape. But people do send me hosting tapes, and the one thing that I think is super important about that is get to your first joke quickly. So many times I write back, hey, your first punchline came at 1 minute and 20 seconds, and this is a hosting, set. So you have to get it quickly and draw them in. So, yeah, that's one of the biggest suggestions that I can give.
And smile. And if you're hosting, hey, Don't be like that other guy.
Right over here in the black. Go ahead. Is it realistic for an out-of-state comic to get a feature or headlining gig at your club? Or host or feature at your club?
Yes. We tend to leave some spots open in the roster for that particular reason. And if I've had a local that's been in too many times, I'll leave it open for a while. I'd rather bring somebody in for a rotation like Corey. I'd rather bring him in to one of my clubs to host, and then I'm able to get him into headline the following weekend somewhere else, and then we've got a midweek spot. So it's financially, it's a better trip for him, and it's more exposure for us too.
If I haven't seen you live, probably not. But if I've seen you live, a tape's not good enough for me to trust my mic, like a host job at my club. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about that. So, but if I've seen you live and I know you can at least deal with maybe a little bit of noisy back room, or and you can handle the actual stress. It's not a perfect tape, then I'd be more likely to do it. That's why we go to these festivals, so we have that option. Yeah.
And everything that Jennie said as well.
Yeah. I think it's one of those situational issues. I mean, every place is going to be different for that. I could tell you for us, no, it's not very likely at all because, financially it doesn't make sense for you. Plus, I want to use our guys for that. Yeah, so yeah.
Go ahead in the back.
Yeah, I just have to back on that. I travel a lot.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Submitting for guest spots in your show. If I'm in South Carolina for a weekend, I've researched you, and I said, oh, here, I'd love a guest spot. How open are you to that?
Okay, hold on 1 second on that. Cyrus has a quick comment as well on the previous.
The short
question.
answer to your question is absolutely. I have no problems with it. I think a couple caveats. If I've seen you live, if I know that you can handle the market or the room or the headliner that you'd be working with, if they're not bringing a host and feature, because as Ryan mentioned, it's few and far between these days. And if I have availability, because chances are if you hit me up, I might not even have a spot that week, despite having 5 clubs in California. So I think it depends on availability. It depends on fit, but I have 0 objections to that.
Oh, hi. Realistically, for us, no, because we're so saturated, and then my boss is we really focus on the local people, but it's not a never. We don't let very many headliners bring their features, but often if the headliner is going to sell out, they will be allowed to bring their feature, and that's the way in. However, it doesn't hurt because just happened. I don't book our Philadelphia club, but our Philadelphia club has been there for just under 3 years. Our Bay Area club has been there for 41 years. We don't have a built-up roster up there, and recently the booker over there said, I'm having a hard time. The headliner wants a clean female feature who doesn't do this type of joke, that type of joke, that type of joke. And I went, oh, I know exactly the person for you. She lives in New York. I can't get her up here. That lady got a feature week, and then she's been doing a lot of one-night headlining. So it doesn't hurt to make the contact. And I'm very obvious, because I'm very honest, because a lot of people have asked me over the weekend. I'm like, write me, but I just don't want to give your hopes up, like, because I feel bad, because I'm on the flip side doing the same thing, you know, sitting.
Want to trade spots?
Thank you for being patient. So your question was about how to secure a guest set if you're traveling through town and the best avenue to secure that guest set. Comments from the panel?
A referral from a comic working that weekend or a headliner that's respected at the club. I go, hey, my girl's coming to town. She's really funny. Can you give her a guest set?
Any other comments on that?
I'm I'm always open to it, especially if we've got a relationship, if we've met here, and also, like Jack said, if there's a referral involved. But I think anything is always an option.
How far in advance would you want to get that heads up that someone's coming through?
I don't know that there's a hard rule on that. If it's really far away, I won't remember. Like, a guest spot for 6 months away seems silly, you know? But, like, the day of, personally, just because when I'm running the club, I'm doing everything. So in my case, maybe the day of is kind of annoying. Because it's like watching your tape and just making sure you're not a crazy person is kind of a lot to ask when I'm also, you know, getting everything ready for the night. So just, you know, some time for me. But I love having guest spots, especially if I've seen you at a festival and I know you're coming through. It's great to have a new face on stage.
One thing I like when I give guest spots out, we're promoting the club. We're trying to get asses in the seats. If you go, hey, I'm in town, I got these fans that want to come see me tonight, I'm totally going to book you. Because it's a business. We need to make money. We need to sell tickets. So if you're helping us out, we're going to help you out.
Our club, I'm sorry. Go. Our club rule is that we don't give guest spots out on headliner shows unless the headliner requested it, and I tell everybody that, like, we're just not going to stick you in there without their approval. However, if you don't know the headliner, we also request that you don't just start Facebooking them and finding them and asking if they could do a guest spot. We actually had someone banned from our Sacramento club because every week they would do that. They would hit up, and I cannot actually believe how successful they were at it, too. All these headliners gave them spots, and they were not very good.
Well, they put the headliners in a weird situation to be a prick to them, and a lot of that, we talked about that earlier, about giving a reference, but like, hey, Ryan, I'm giving you a reference for JoJo or whatever, and they're just saying because they want to follow through on their word. But you put those headliners in such a weird situation because, matter of fact, they all mind if you do a guest set. They all do. They say yes because they're nice about it. But it's also, there's so many guys that want to do all their time, so you're taking away from somebody else that's on the book show that's getting paid. We're taking 5-7 minutes away from them, too. So, yeah, don't hit them up on Facebook. It's stupid.
Back to a timeline, though. You can lay the groundwork, you know, a month before. Hey, I'm going to be in town next month, blah, blah, blah. But then a follow-up. Like, I'm in the same boat as Jennie. I'm not going to remember that you said a month ago that you wanted to do a guest set. But that would give her a chance or me a chance to review that video or, you know, do whatever. And then probably have a decision, you know, ready. And then when you're in town that week and you say, hey, I emailed a couple of weeks ago back, whatever, is that guest spot available? It doesn't hurt.
In the back, pink shirt.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of having an agent as a comic just starting out? What percentage of your book is agents versus just personal referrals? Well, I'm going to jump in here because I'm not a club guy, so I'm the opposite. I represent talent, so I'm going to speak from that perspective. And when you're just starting out, you're not going to have an agent. End of story. Because it's a bit, as everybody said, we all live where art and commerce intersect, and 10% of nothing is nothing. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be realistic with this, and that's why people say, oh, I want somebody to book me in almost nobody until you do the math. If you're a $500 a week act And you go, oh, I wish I had somebody to book me in clubs. Nobody's going to book you in club. Maybe your spouse. No, I'm serious. It's just there's nothing, because then it's not worth the time and effort or pay the phone bill to do it. So I'm not trying to put the kibosh on what you're saying, and I'm going to let these guys take it from here, because when you do get to the level where you have representation or you need representation, then I'll let them do that. But when you're a beginner, and when you're starting out, when you're a host, and when you're a feature, this is mostly, the booking is going to be on you to do.
Yes, right there. How does the booking, sorry, just so we get it on the audio, how does the booking at the Improv work for you guys?
Yeah, so it's all done in our corporate office at the Howard Hughes Parkway. We have 10 clubs that we own and operate. We have about 7 more that we book for across the country. Those 7 that we book for, we kind of, do the groundwork, but ultimately they're the decision makers. So we'll run it past them and say, do you want this person this weekend or this person on this off night? So it's an open communication between us at the corporate office, the corporate booking office, and the club itself. You're more than welcome to go to the club. They'll most likely just loop us in, and kind of then we'll have a conversation with you with respect to what your marketing strategy is, how you plan on filling the seats, who's going to be on your lineup, the rules and regulations, what our expectations are for a second booking. So you could go either route.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a question for Ron Reid, and I know you specialize in cruise booking, so I'm wondering about the differences for the booking for like cruises versus the land. Are there any maritime law issues?
What are some of the differences? The question was.
Well, you
for
have to have a
Ron.
passport. Let's start with
The question. Oh no, that's okay. The question for Ron was, what are the differences for booking cruise lines in regards to maritime law and land bookings a comic could get? I think I summarized that accurately. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I touched on this a second ago. So unlike the club owners here and the bookers, where you approach them, I'm in between. I'm in between you and them. Well, not specifically you and not specifically them, but in general. So we'll start with that. So that I pitch talent to people who buy talent. So that's my position here in it. So to start off with, so I'm not the decision maker. I am the decision maker because I decide who to represent. And so you would approach me just like you would approach any one of these people. And then, I want you to book me. But then I have to pitch you to somebody else who's ultimately the decision maker on that. So it's what I have to read their minds about what they are looking for and sort of think along those lines. But ultimately, it's up to, just like Cyrus was saying about the clubs that they book, ultimately there's some authority who makes the final decision for their property or whatever it is that wants to do that. So that I don't know if that's addressing what you're asking, or but I never shut up, so I'm going to continue on and see if I can address it. In terms of what you need for that job, you have to have a passport, essentially. That's really it. And whether it's a U.S. I have clients. I have Australian clients. I have UK clients. I have 2 Japanese comedian clients. So they have current passport. That's really, you would be surprised how many people will call me up and they go, hey, I want to book you. We go through the whole process. They send me, I go, oh my God, I love you. You're perfect for this. I'm going to submit you. Send me your avails. And they send their avails. And then they go, oh, do I need a passport? So the whole thing has gone by the board. All that time has been wasted. So really that, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yes.
Are you asking, okay, I need you to submit like a 90-minute video on your full work?
I don't need I don't need to see the whole video. I'm good with a demo. I can look. We can Google you. We can see what you do. And if you're a club headliner, you have at least probably an hour of A material. So we know that going forward. But at a certain point, we trust people to tell us. We build a relationship because it's all built on everything's built on relationships, you guys. And so I wouldn't trust a stranger to tell me that they had 2 separate 45s with no overlap of A material that's clean and has no politics and no religion in it. And that's I have buyers who want that. Not every one of them. I also have buyers who you could do exactly the same set you would do in a club. No restrictions on language or content. So it really varies. But I very often will, I don't know, we rarely miss on estimating how much time somebody has. If somebody tells me they have 240, I tell you what, if I say I need 245s and you don't have 245s and you tell me you have 245s, then you might get 1 gig out of it and not succeed. And then that's the end of your career and your relationship with me. So there's a certain amount of trust that goes into that.
Not only with him, though, with him and whoever he networks with as a booker, he's going to say, so-and-so screwed me on this gig. So it's gonna go around. So not only are you losing work with Ronn, but you're also losing potential work with Ronn's contacts.
And then they push you off the ship.
It has been done, at least metaphorically. Do not buy pot in Jamaica.
All right, we've got time for 2 more questions. We're going to come over here all the way to the left. If you get a great tape at a club and then you use that tape to submit to the same club, is that weird? As an outside show, is that weird?
Use your best tape. It doesn't matter where it's from. Use your best tape. If that's your best tape, use it.
Yeah, 100%. If it's from the club that I book for, I'm happier. It's a good thing. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, because you're showing us that you basically understand that audience at that point, and they get you. But one thing that I kind of don't like is when you do, because unfortunately the way our business sets up, Tuesdays and some Wednesdays, they're what we have rental shows, right? And we have outside producers, and we don't have a say in the talent because they're renting. When you don't actually get paid work from us now, I don't like when I look at a flyer and it's like, as seen at Punchline and Cobbs, and I'm like, no, they've been doing it for 6 months, I don't like that as much. That I find that's one of my pet peeves.
I don't want to see like an open mic set at the Laugh Factory and I'm at the Laugh Factory.
All right, final question up here at the front. How do you ensure that the comics know that they should be submitting the right videos that have the content aligned with either your brand, your club, or what you're looking for?
For me, absolutely. Absolutely, you should ask if you don't already know the answer in advance. Sure, and I will tell you. We tell people when I have artists approach that want to be booked, and I go, send me a clip, and I either they will ask, what do you want to see, or I will tell them, because we have I want to see something very specific. Like for example, I need to see a clean clip. It doesn't mean every opportunity that I might provide needs to have a clean show, but my experience over the years is that everybody can work dirty and not everybody can work clean. And also, people's definition of what is clean is fucking amazing.
I think that is the perfect way to wrap up the panel. Any final comments from our panel?
Orlando Leba had a question.
Who has a question?
Orlando Leba.
Oh, Orlando, go ahead, shout it out. I can't see back there.
Okay, I got a question. We kind of like plowed over it, but it's so important because I made a lot of this mistake. Ryan touched on it. Doing guest spots and features, what did you mean about being cost effective? And I'm sure, like with traveling and stuff, what should a comic that's traveling from Florida to Boston to do a guest spot or host be expecting to receive in Boston?
Well, the thing is, for a lot of clubs, it's set rate. I'm sorry. Do you need to repeat
No,
that?
it's fine.
Okay. Are we still recording? Okay.
Yeah, we'll edit it.
For a lot of clubs, it's a set rate. So the thing is, it's not very cost effective. For example, we pay $50 a host at Laugh Boston. If you're coming from Florida, you're going to obviously be losing money. No, and that's the other good question, Orlando. That's the other thing is a lot of clubs do have comedy condos where they can just throw you in. We don't at Laugh Boston. We have to pay at the hotel. So if it's not already pre-negotiated with the agent on the headliner bringing his feature and they need to have a hotel room, we're not going to put them up. A lot of places do have comedy condos. I'm not sure if any of you guys do, but do you? So it may be easier at other places, but I think that's something you should touch on when you guys are asking about it too.
All right, any final thoughts or comments from the panel before we wrap up?
Be funny, we'll find you.
Good luck.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. Have a great rest of the festival.